Hello, my name is Ann Prinz, and I am from Zither International. And today I'm going to be showing you how to restring one of these. This is a Citara Mini Harpa that comes from Brazil. It fits in the category of many of the 15-string zithers from around the world that are made for children. However, this one is strung very differently. So if you have one of these zithers, you'll want to stay tuned. So here we are ready to restring our Citara Mini Harpa. And just as I had mentioned to you, this instrument is much like other instruments from around the world that has 15 strings and was made for children. But there's a big difference on this one than many of the other styles. Often the other types of zithers that are similar to this, they use a tuning peg to wrap the string around. So the string would go through the hole and then it wraps around this tuning peg. But for us, on this zither, we actually have screws to use. And so we have to do a special type of winding around it for them to stay on the screw. So we're going to go through this process of what we need to do. One of the first things I like to do, especially if I am replacing all of the strings or just some of them, I'm restringing 2 strings on here for a client of mine. And oftentimes these instruments have been sitting around a while and they're quite dusty. So I like to take something like this tool here and bring it under the strings and just slide some of that dust off so that when I take off the strings, it will not be so dusty flying in the air. The next thing that I want to do is I am going to restring from the top of the zither. I like to restring here and move my way towards me, mainly because these are the higher pitch string, they're thinner gauge, they're easier to start working with, and especially if you haven't done this before, it might be easier to start up here and work your way this direction. We also have bridges that are here. Oftentimes when I'm restringing an instrument like this, I like to leave on some strings maybe down in this section and maybe one set up here just to hold the bridge in place as I'm adding new strings. If you want to take off all the strings, not a problem. The bridge is actually about 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch or 5 millimeters from this edge here, this inside edge on both sides, but it doesn't have to be completely precise. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to cut some strings because of how these are wound on here. It's very difficult to just unwind the string. You can't do that to take them off like you can on other instruments, but we do need to loosen the strings first. So with the zither, for the person that I'm doing this with, they don't have a tuning wrench for this. So then if you don't have a tuning wrench that came with your instrument, you have a couple options. One is a screwdriver and the other is some pliers, and these would be the type of pliers I might recommend, but you can use needle nose pliers, whatever you have at home. If you have to use pliers, I do recommend one thing. Hanging file folders have those plastic tabs, and they're really a thick plastic, and I went ahead and cut out a notch in this. And if you need to use the pliers, I recommend sliding that around the nail like that so that it protects the paint on the instrument. That's one of the things with the Citara Mini Harpa. They are so beautiful in all the color that they have that you just don't want to damage the paint as you're working on this. So what we're going to do is I am going to slightly unscrew this to loosen the strings. And to loosen the strings, I actually have to turn the screw counterclockwise just a little bit. I don't need much, just a little bit to loosen that string. And there we go. I've got them a little bit loose. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this so that you don't hurt yourself. I use my middle finger and my index finger on the top I then use my fourth finger and my thumb, and I hold the string on both sides, and then I take my wire cutters and I come in between and I snip the wire. That way I'm actually holding both sides of the wire and they won't fly. I just recommend, as you can see, all of a sudden I let go and it started spinning around. You want to be very careful to not hurt yourself with the wires as they come off. This is why I do this. Again, middle finger, index finger on the top, fourth finger underneath or ring finger, and my thumb on top holding the string, taking my wire cutter and then cutting the string in between. So now that I have this on these ends, on the nails, you can kind of try to unravel it a little bit and it will eventually come off. So you don't have to do more than that, just a little bit of unraveling. I'm saying a little bit, but this one wants to hang on there, doesn't it? And then it will eventually come off. On the other end, you have some nails here. I don't know if you can kind of see them in the shadows there, but these are wound around this nail. So you just kind of want to do a little unwinding on this. And it will just come off like that. And then you can put your those strings in the trash, the old strings. So here I've got this taken off and we are ready to add strings on. Here at Zither International, we do have Citara Mini Harpa strings available, as I'm just restringing a couple strings for you today. I will just show you how those are labeled. The ones that we are starting with first have a label on it that actually says 14 and 15, and next to it are some other numbers, a B5, and that's telling you that's tuned to a B, and that's a number 5. If you have a tuning app, I like using a tuning app called G Strings, and I just tune that string when I'm ready to tune it up to a B5, and then string 15 is a C6. So our strings actually start here, 1 all the way up to 15. This is a string I'm going to replace. It's one string that creates 2 notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off that label, and then I'm going to loosen up that string. Whoops, I got my gloves in the way. Just cut off that label, or you can just pull it off, either or. And I will put that label over to the side because I do want to know that tuning later. And then these strings just unwind very easily. So once you have it unwound, whoops, I got another winding on there. And once I have that unwound, as you can see, we have a string. Now what I like to do is I'm going to show you, and you may want to do this for yourself, is I kind of like putting my 2 ends kind of close together so I can see how much string I have, and kind of put them near where the nails are going to be. And as you can see, I have about 6 inches. I'll put my finger there so you can see it. I have about 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches extra wire, and this is for the special type of winding we're going to do. So when you start to put one on one, you don't want 10 inches extra on one side because then you'll be too short on the other. And that 6 inches is 5 to 6 inches is comparable to about 15 centimeters or so. And so let us go ahead and start. And to start, we actually need to straighten out, we need to screw these in. And so, you know, just like you learned as a kid, righty-tighty. So I'm going to screw it until it's straight, like straight with my string with that slot. And the same is true for that one too. And that's as far down as I can go, and they are straight for me. As I mentioned, I've got some extra wire here. So I'm going to just kind of hold this here on that bridge with my hand as I do all the manipulation here. So this is the part you want to watch really carefully. We're going to start by putting this under the lip or the edge of the top of that screw, and we start on the side that's closest to you. And so we're going to take the string, we are wrapping it counterclockwise around the screw. You come around one time, and then the next thing you're going to do is bring it up and through the notch. And once you have it through the notch, I hold it with my other finger in place as I am turning the wire to go the opposite direction. Now we are going to go clockwise. And as we go clockwise, I go around one full time, and I go around a second full time. And again, you want to hold those tight, and I'm holding this one snug. And then I'm going to start twisting this. I'm going to wrap around the string one time, kind of tightening it down as I go, two times, three times, four times, and one last time, a fifth time around. And then what we will do is we're going to leave that end until we're completely done. So the next thing that we're doing is we're actually coming over here to the nail. And the nail that's on the side is kind of important too. Just like we did with the screw here, we want to start winding it on the side that's closest to us. And because we have two nails, it's kind of interesting how it's done. So I'm going to try to turn this so that you can watch what I'm doing here as we are going around these nails. I'm going around the side that's closest to me. I'm going to go circle around that nail a full turn and a half. Then I'm going to go above the next nail, and I am going to go counterclockwise one time. So again, my string is on the edge of the nail that's facing me. I'm going to hold that tight, and as I come across here, we are now going to, whoops, I'm sitting on my cutter there. We are now going to do the same thing that we did with this other screw, except for it's a little bit easier when you don't have the whole string you're holding on to. So again, I'm putting a little pressure there. I'm going under that lip and going counterclockwise, one full turn underneath that lip. And then I'm going to go up and through the notch, holding it there again with my index finger. Then I'm going to go clockwise, two full turns underneath that lip, one, two, and then I'm going to be winding it around my string. There's one. They make funny sounds as you do that, and that's okay. Two, three, four, and five. The next thing I will do is cut the ends of the string. I like to use a flush cutter because it lets you get really close without cutting, your main part of the string. You can use wire cutters, but this just allows you to get really close so you have a nice finish to it. So we'll put that to the side, and then I have this other string here. And that is how you string those strings. I didn't mention earlier, but I do want to mention that I'm wearing nitrile gloves. And the reason that I'm doing this is, well, first of all, I'm a musician, and so I want to protect my hands. But the second thing is it allows me to have a little bit more grip as I'm working with the strings. They don't slide through my fingers quite as easily. So I recommend you consider that as well. So the other string that I'm replacing on this instrument happens to be string number 1 at this other end. And this string is different because this one is solo all by itself. The rest of the strings are working 2 at a time. And again, like the other one, it has a label. And this one says 1, and it's tuned to a C4. And a C4 is middle C. So let me go ahead and take my scissors and cut off the label, and then I'll show you how this string is different. Let me take the paper off. So we're going to unwind this string, and if you'll notice right away, this string is different because it comes with a looped end. There, you can see it more on my hand there. It comes with the end that's already pre-looped, and that makes it easy because unlike these where we have 2 that we're going to wrap around, on this one, we just have a nail on one end. So again, like what I did with the others, I am going to turn this all the way as far down as I can, where I can get that straight. There we go, that's as low as I can go, where I can have my string go straight through there. It'll make it a little easier for stringing. This one, what are we going to do? Simple enough. All we have to do is put the loop on and anchor it. See right there, I just got it anchored on that nail. No fancy things to do on that one because it already comes pre-wound for you. But then what are we going to do? We're going to do the exact same thing as we did up here. So once again, I'm kind of holding it in place just so it doesn't slide on me as I'm doing this. And I start at the side underneath that lip that's closest to me. I wind it around a full time, and then I wind it to the point of coming through the notch. I've got it in the notch, and now I'm going to have it go clockwise now, around 1 time, around 2 times, and then I'm gonna do 5 times around. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then once again, I'm going to use my flush cutters to trim off the extra on that string. There we go. So that's how you string the Citara Mini Harpa. For tuning it, what you will do is use an app on your phone. As I said, I use something called G Strings. And to tune this, you actually have to turn these counterclockwise. So you'll listen to your app and then you'll tune them to their right pitch. So this is how you string a Citara Mini Harpa, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at Zither International. We look forward to being able to support you in your Zither journey.